Well, hello there. Welcome to our December calendar party. I don't know, what do we call it? Calendar series release, bundle release. I'm tired, guys. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm hoping this is going to go well because I'm a little fried. It's been a day. How are you guys doing? Good, I hope. Ready to see the reveal. I'll just give everyone a minute. I'm actually just a couple minutes early. Well, no, it's just 7:30 now, so it's just a minute or so early. We're just going to give everyone a second or two to find the video, and then we'll get going. Hello, Susan. And there's Megan. Hello, Megan. And Mary's here. Hello, hello. And Cheryl's here. See, people are rolling in now. It was a day, yeah. I had a very, very busy weekend. We were racing, so yeah, we were home late Sunday night, and then I hit the ground running this morning, and my list was longer than my day. That happens to me a lot. But I'm happy to be doing this. This is something fun and creative. Hello, hello, everyone. I cannot wait to see this reveal. Well, I hope I don't disappoint. I can't believe that we are showing December and we're done for another year. I do still have plans to do I'll call it a title page for the year. I kind of know in my brain what I want to do. I just have not had 5 minutes to sit down and put it together. So it's on my list. I'll do my best. It might come out next month when we do our January reveal. And it's not usually a bundle. It's more like a supply list. And then I do an inspirational video, and then you can pick and choose what you want to get and go from there. And I can tell I'm going to be coughing here. So maybe I should take a drink. We'll try that. Sometimes I get talking and it's like cough, cough. Okay, so that is still in the mix. We are definitely planning to do that. You guys are lucky because I need these things for myself, so then I automatically pass them on to you. If I wasn't invested in this for myself, I might say, you know what, you guys figure out your own title page, but I know you really want one. And it's a nice way to finish off the year for sure. So I'm probably going to rename the series for next year. I don't think we're going to call it a calendar series anymore, because I would say a very small portion of the people who actually do this whole thing are doing calendars. But you can, like, it'll still be usable for a calendar. Actually, Susan gave me a really great idea for a name, but we're going to keep that a secret for right now. But yeah, so I think I'm going to rename the series for next year, but it'll be very similar format for sure. I got a lot of emails inquiring if we were going to continue to do it, which we are. So, yes, as long as you promise to give me a little grace sometimes if I get behind. I try really hard to release around the same time every month. But boy, some months it is a struggle. But I'm doing my best. I have plans for a title page, and I have a general idea of what I'm going to be doing for the January page. But I'm waiting for one element to arrive before I can get started. I didn't cough for hours, and now I'm going to cough like crazy. Okay. So let's do the reveal of the bundle, and then I'll show you my page. So this month we're going to be playing with Arden Creative Studio products. So this is Katie Petit, and she used to design for 49 and Market. So I've been watching her releases, and I quite like them. They are kind of similar to 49 and Market style, but like they have laser cuts, but I'm going to show you something cool about these laser cuts. What is Cheryl saying? Rest assured, you're not the only one that gets behind on the calendar. Well, that's what I figure. If I release a little late sometimes, I don't think you guys are going to really care because you probably haven't done the month before. So, but I know sometimes people wait for it so that they can ship their products out and stuff. So I really try to be on time. So I'll do my best. Anyways, this month we are going to be working with the 6x8 paper pad. So you're going to get half of a pad. So in a 6x8 paper pad, you get 2 of each sheet. So you're going to be getting 1 of each sheet. Pardon me for coughing. But it's beautiful paper, and mine is all paper clipped off here because I've got instructions on mine, but we'll go through it. And then you're also getting a full pack of the laser cuts. And you guys know how much the laser cuts are, how they're one of my favorite things to work with. So I really love them. And these ones are obviously Christmas themed. And then you're going to get a sheet of white cardstock and a photo. Now, I want to apologize now for the photos. So we were having a lot of trouble with Walmart not being able to print our photos in time. So we switched to Staples, and they are a disaster. The photo I submit to be printed does not look like the photo you're going to get. So we will not be using them anymore. I'm not sure what we're going to do, but we'll figure it out. And the quality is not great, but it'll give you a general idea. Like you can see everything. It's just not the greatest photo. And I didn't have enough time to change it. So we're going to run with it this month, but you have this lovely video here, which is way better than a photo anyway. But the photo is there for reference. So you are going to get a picture in there. And I do apologize for the terrible quality. I don't know what the heck they were doing, but I'm not impressed. So don't get your photos developed at Staples. I mean, we're not looking for top quality or anything, but it would be nice if they were a little nicer, but we're going to work on that. Okay. So, and then we also have add-ons and things that we're going to be using, but I will set this aside for right now. And I'm going to show you the page. Now this is the layout part of the page. Oops, let's get it down here so you can see the whole thing. And I decided to go with tags. I love, love, love working with tags. And I thought this would make a nice big impact. And then I layered some photos on top of the tags and then used the laser die cuts as well. So that is the calendar, like the layout side. And then the calendar part, let's get this down here, is looking like that. So nice traditional green and red colors. It came together really well. Just so you know, it looks 1,000 times better in person because I'm looking at my screen now. And I mean, it looks lovely, but it's so nice. It's so, so nice. I'll try to hold it up closer and stuff when we go through all the different sections so you can get a better look at it. But it is really, really beautiful. And I thought it worked well. For like family photos and all the, people unwrapping gifts and all that kind of stuff. But that's the layout portion. The month of December, there's always lots going on leading up to Christmas too. And in our house, our youngest grandchild, our granddaughter, she has a birthday at the beginning of December. So we don't want Christmas to overshadow that. So we are celebrating her birthday. She turned, well, I'm doing last year. So she turned 2 then. She just turned 3. So I've got some pictures on there for her birthday. And then, of course, there's always the first snowfall. And our grandson, Liam, he's really into hockey. So we've got, him practicing hockey in the snow outside. And then, of course, hockey photos. Owen didn't make this side of the page this time, but he is in the family photo over here. And obviously I have more Christmas photos than just this. But this is just sort of a snapshot of what I included for this. So if you want to do more layouts, we've said in the past, you can still continue to scrapbook and just sort of tuck those into your album if you're doing it in the form of an album. But otherwise, there is your 2-page spread. I know it's hard to get it all on one screen, but that is what it looks like. Okay, so now I'm going to go through the add-ons for this, and I'll sort of point things out. So a lot of the typical stuff that I use kind of each month, there is a bundle of calendar letters to spell the word December. So we do have the calendar die cuts for that. Oh, Lynn wanted to pop in and see what we're showing. Okay, well, yeah, so the calendar die cuts will be available for that. And that does the December month right there. Okay, so all the colors coordinate. Now, because I know some of you like to buy the cardstock that goes along with these colors, we used 4 colors from the Color Vibe collection. One is deep teal, which is here. And I'm sure the camera does not show that as a deep teal, but it is teal. And there is teal in the papers that are in this collection. So it does match nicely. This is mint. Then we have evergreen and we have tomato. So those are the 4 colors, and then they're just repeated for the other side. So if you want to pick up cardstock for these to mat your photos or whatever, those are the 4 colors that we are going to be using this month. So that is something we usually mention. And then, of course, if you are doing a 2-page spread where the calendar page is the opposite side, the left-hand side, you'll want to pick up one of those. So that is one thing that we talk about each month. And I'm just sort of clearing my desk as I go. Otherwise, I end up with a big mess. Okay, and then things like a sanding block. I like to sand the edges of my photos, which you will see on page 2. See, the edges are white. So I like to sand down the edges of my photos. You don't notice it too much on this side of the page because there are frames that come as part of the laser die cuts. And so you wouldn't see it on that side. But normally I do like to sand all of my pictures. So sanding block is usually on the list. A T ruler. I use that for lining up a lot of elements when I'm putting my page together. This is the My Sweet Petunia version. It has a long 12 by 12 inch T ruler. And I especially like it for lining up the die cuts for the December month. That way I get them nice and straight and even. So that is on pretty much every month's list. When we are working with the laser die cuts specifically, I highly recommend a glue press. So if you've got one of those, make sure you're pulling it out while you are crafting, because it is a great tool. I think we might be sold out of them right now, but we have an order in and we're just waiting for the shipment to arrive. We're doing a lot of restocking right now. It's taking us some time to get through all of the different companies and all of our basics and staples and get them in. And then, of course, we have to wait for them to ship, and then it has to come across the border. So it's going to take 3 to 4 weeks before we start to see all of those restock items come back. But they are rolling in already. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for those kinds of things. Pretty much each month I use the Distress ink in Walnut Stain and this style of an applicator. I do like to distress the edges of my die cuts, sometimes some of the papers and so on. So I do use that quite frequently. Black and white twine. So this is an add-on. You can buy this, I think the 2 yards, 5 yards, 10 yards, that kind of thing. 2 yards should be enough. You're going to be using it for the tops of your tags. And then I did tie a few bows on the layout in a couple of different spots on the little die cut buttons. But 2 yards should be plenty for what you're doing. If you want to have extra in your stash, you can buy extra lengths, but 2 yards should be plenty. And then you will need a small circle die or circle punch. I use that for the reinforcements on the tops of my tags. We've used the Tailored Expressions tag reinforcements before, but they're a little small for this size of a tag. So I just pulled out a circle die. Mine is from the Infinity dies from Hero Arts. I'm not sure if we have those in stock. We have used them for previous calendar layouts over the last couple of years. So this is the 3/4 inch one. If you have a punch, you could even get away with a 1 inch circle on this. An extra 1/4 inch isn't going to make a difference. So that's just kind of something you have to grab from your stash. I don't think we really have anything in stock right now that has that exact measurement. But I just went dancing around my craft room trying to find something that I could use as a tag reinforcement. And that's what I came up with. So you can use your imagination and use something else, but that is what I used. Then I did use some gold stars for embellishments. You can see them just sort of scattered around my layout. Those are the Bits and Pieces gold holographic stars from Tailored Expressions. They're super sparkly and one of my favorite things to use for stars now. Like look what happens when I move them around. The light catches them and they just go crazy. So we do have some now, but I just love that. So that's what I used for the stars. And then you can use sequins and like whatever else you have in your stash if you want, but that's what I used. I did use the stapler and staples. I do like to do this, sort of tear a little bit of my background. It just adds, it acts as an embellishment, and I think it really draws your eye to the background, and I do that quite often. So it's not a new thing for us, but that is something that I used again. And then I did do some splattering in gold and in black. So you'll need something to splatter with black and something with gold. I did use the Winsor & Newton splattering, and I will not be demoing that tonight because I don't like to splatter in my craft room. I would have to take you out to my garage, and that's just a big mess. So I did do some splattering with gold and black. So if you have those, and then you'll need brushes for those too. So if you did pick up a fan brush with us when we carried those, or any kind of brush that you use for splattering, you'll need those. And then the inks that I used. So when I created the background this month, what I did was I did some stenciling, but I also did some stamping. Now the stamping is quite subtle. I can see it really well when I look at the page, but it might be hard to pick it up on the camera. I'm going to try and hold it up. Can you see the script in the background there? Yes, I think you can. So there is some stamping done in the script, and you want it to be subtle. You don't want it to be too harsh. You want it to blend into the background. And my favorite color for that is oat milk. So I have used this in the past for things. And we do have the cubes in stock. I think we only have one pad, but I do have more coming. So that is what I used to do the stamping in the background. And I also did some blending on the background of the paper as well, which I will demonstrate. And then the stenciling is done with jalapeno from Tailored Expressions. I think we have a little bit of this in stock, but we have more coming. So some of these items might go up as a pre-order, but the orders are in, so they shouldn't take any more than a couple of weeks. Again, my bad. I got the orders in a little bit late just because we've been so overwhelmed with all the sales and everything that were happening at Christmas. I didn't get the page done right away. And then once I knew what I was using, there's just so much ordering to be done. So I'm doing my best to get things in as quickly as I can, but they got in a little bit late. So they aren't here yet, but they are going to be en route very soon. So a couple of weeks and you should have them. So there's that. And then the stencil we've actually used before. So in the month of June, we used the stencil on the page for that. I put this in here backwards so you can't see what it is, but that's what the stencil kind of looks like. It's from Arden Creative Studio, and it's called Distressed Diamond. So if you did the June page, check your stash. You might already have this. If not, Shelby, if you're listening, did we have these in stock? I didn't check. This is a really nice one. I love the distress look that it gives, and I love how it fades out on the edges. So the stencil kind of does the work for you, and it gives you a really, really cool look. So you can see in the background, we've stenciled all around the area with the tags. So I'm just waiting to see if Shelby is paying attention to us, and she might answer. She is under the Two Scrapbook Friends name, but we will see if she answers. I can quickly check too, but everything will be in that shopping section that we have right on the online store. As soon as you click that online store tab, it takes you right to the online store, and there's a little blurb for calendar series, and you go, oh, it is sold out. Okay, well, I'll have to see if I can get more of those. I'm not sure, but we did use this in the June page. If you don't have it, I'm sure you must have something in your stash that you could use. But yay if you got it in June. So that is that. And then a few things from Tailored Expressions. I talked about the fine line script. So we've used this a few times before as well. This is a staple in my craft room. It's a 6x6. Oh, you're here as you. Okay. I thought I saw somebody come through as 2 scrapbook friends. I didn't type anything. Well, I'm glad you're here as you. Maybe Amanda said something. I don't know. Either that or someone's an imposter and they're stealing our identity. Yeah, so this is the script stamp, and I just love it. It's a staple. I have a text one that I use as well. Again, these are not in stock now, but they are up as a pre-order. So you can pre-order if you haven't grabbed it yet. So that is a great one. The other Tailored Expressions item is the dies to cut out the number 25. Now I will drop a little hint. I am not promising because I have not started the page yet, but my brain right now is thinking I'm going to use these on the title page. Oh, you're both. Wow, Shelby, you have a double personality or you've cloned yourself. Yeah, so my plan is to use these, but sometimes plans have to change. So I don't want to promise, but this set of numbers is the best set that I've ever owned. I do have a few others, but I never use them because I always go for this one. So it is I'll call them a fronter and a backer because it has the die for the numbers, and then there is a shadow die. But the cool thing about these is the size, and then also they have the THSTNDRD, which lets you do 25th, 2nd, all that kind of stuff. Great for personalizing anniversaries, birthdays, all those fun things. But I wanted to get this 25th on here just to signify Christmas. So that's what I used. And I did use both the shadow and the front. So we sell them as a bundle. And we do have one in stock right now. And then we have some that will go up on pre-order. So we didn't order super deep. They are a little pricey, but they are worth it. But you might have numbers in your stash that you can use already. And by all means, go ahead. But we did put these up for order. So again, I'm hoping to use them on the title page, but we'll see. And then finally, the last thing would be the die that I used for the top of the tags. Now, this is a technique that you can use. You may want to dive into your stash and see if you have something that will work. Shelby and I went through a few different options, and some of the ones that we have in stock may work, but without trying them 100%, I'm not sure. So not all dies are going to work for this, but what I did was I cut my strips for these tags. And then what I did was I dove into my stash and I tried to find a rectangle die that had a shape to it to do the top part of my tag, because they are large. So you could just do a standard like angled corner kind of tag, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I dove into my stash and I found this set here. I'm pretty sure I got this set as part of a retailer event. I had never used it, but this type of nesting die is really useful because, especially lately, I think they're really coming back. Not everybody wants just a plain rectangle mat on their cards. So these are becoming really popular, and they go down to a teeny tiny little size. And you might think, well, what am I going to use the small sizes for? They make great blocks for sentiments. And I also have some card ideas that I want to get working on that I'm going to be using dies like this. And I use the smaller dies to make little scenes on. So that is on my list of things to do. But it is a nesting die set. We have pre-ordered some of these, and they are up for pre-order on our website. So we will be getting some. If the demand is higher, we're going to have to put in a second order. But they are available as far as I know. And I have them sitting in my cart right now, and they let me put them in the cart, which is a good sign. So they are from Spellbinders, and it's called the Mirrored Arch Label. So you might have something that you can use. What you want is to be able to use whatever design is on the top part of this rectangle. And then you can pick what size you want. My tags are 3 3/4 inches wide. So I just kind of picked one that was close to that, and that's kind of what worked. Obviously, you can adjust the size of these tags if you have to go like 1/4 inch bigger, smaller. You can, there's flexibility with that. But that's how I got that top part of the tag. And that is what I used. So I will be demonstrating how that works when I do the demo part of this. Okay, so that is all of the add-ons for this month. So not too bad. Some things we've used before, some things are new. Any questions so far? You guys are very quiet in the chat. Just going to wait and see if anyone has any questions before I move on. And then we'll kind of talk about some measurements and what things I used and where. Talk about the laser cuts and different things. But does anyone have any questions that they want answered so far? Nothing? Oh, I see. Allie asked what was used to cut the top of the tags. Well, I just went through that for you, so I'm glad I covered that. What is the gold you use for splatter? So I use the Winsor & Newton gold. I also like the Yasutomo little palettes. We have some of those. I'm not sure if they're in the shopping section. We normally have some of those. I'm not sure if we have them. Maybe I should pull up the shopping section so I can see what's in there. Because Shelby set it all up for me. And I didn't go and look. So calendar series. Ooh, we're going to have to make a new graphic. Amanda, do you hear that? I'm sure she's shaking her head. Let's just see here. So maybe we don't have anything. Nope, we don't have anything up for gold splatter right now. So we will try and restock the Winsor & Newton for the one that we actually used. And I will also try and restock the Yasutomo ones because they're like little round palettes and they're lovely as well. So yeah, if you've got gold ink, you can do that. Like lots of people use different things, but this is what we use. I love the Winsor & Newton ink, but it is a bit tricky to get. So we'll see what we can do about getting that. Gold is sold out in Winsor & Newton and the watercolor. Yes, thank you. I just went on there and checked that. You probably were typing it. It's just a delayed response. So yeah, we'll get on that, make some notes and get that restocked as well. And again, those are supplies that we've been using throughout the 3 years that we have been doing the calendar pages. Whenever we splatter, those are the products that we are using. So they're kind of like staples. We always pull them up. And I mean, 95% of the time am sorry, creating my own backgrounds. So I'm always ink blending, always using stencils, smooshing, splattering, all that kind of stuff. So those are real basics that I use a lot. So if you're wanting to sort of follow along, definitely stock up on those things when you see them. And I mean, I don't always promise to reuse supplies, but sometimes, you know, for a while there, I was using the Tailored Expressions tags dies, the pierced one and the plain one that you layer together. And I will likely pull them out again because I really love to use tags when I craft. And I know I heard a few people say, well, you know, I didn't get them the first time or the second time because I thought, I don't really need them. But when you start to see something the third and the fourth time, then you're like, okay, you know what? She's using these a lot. I better pick these up. And again, stencils, you know, if I can reuse something that we've had in the past, I'll try. I don't always go back and look. Sometimes I have things in mind. Sometimes we get new things. So it does vary from month to month. But if you are following along with the series, you'll start to notice a little bit of a pattern in what I like to work with and some regular things that I create with. So, okay. Oh, I saw a question. Do you let your splatter dry between each splatter? Yes. Well, kind of. So if you are a heavy splatter person, meaning that you get big blobs and dots, if the colors mix together, you'll get new colors, definitely. So I find the Winsor & Newton ink does dry very fast. And I also try to do a light splatter. So nothing too heavy. And that way it will dry really quickly. You can use a heat tool to speed that process up a little bit. But you don't have to. You can kind of let it dry till it's kind of tacky, and then you can add another color. But you just want to make sure that you don't have colors mixing. So it's not a bad idea to let them dry a little bit in between. So good question. Okay, so let's start doing our little measurement section here. I have to find my pieces. See, I'm really bad. Oh, here they are. Excuse me. Okay, so we've got, you're going to get your white cardstock. Eventually, you're going to be cutting that down to measure 11.5 by 11.5. But I tend to do that after I've done all my stenciling and splattering and everything. Because then if you happen to be a little lopsided, you can trim everything from one side, or you can trim a little bit off each side. So I like to give myself flexibility before I cut my background down. So that is a tip that I share often. So I'm going to tell you right now, do all of your background work before you cut it down, and then your finished size will be 11.5 by 11.5. Mary Hall, is that one tag a coral color or more red? It is more red, but it's kind of like a tomato type red versus it's not a pinky red. It's kind of an orangey red, and it's not like a burgundy red. So that's why the Color Vibe color we chose was tomato. That was the closest one, and it's a really good match. And it does match all the die cuts and everything. But you can see even in my photo, the sign that Liam is holding is a more burgundy red. But this one is definitely more of an orangey red. Okay, so that was your white sheet. Now we're going to talk about the patterned papers that are in this collection. And I buried them over here. So, like I said, you're getting half of a paper pad. So you're going to get one of each sheet, and you're going to have extras. So in the paper pad, you also get these die cuts. Now, I did use This Is Joy on this paper from this sheet on this layout side. I didn't use any of the tags on, oops, that's not it, on this side. You have lots of flexibility to change up the one that you want to use. There's even some little icons on here like presents and Santas. So you can definitely make the page your own if you want to add more items to it. But I only used the This Is Joy one. Originally, I had Christmas Memories on there, but I ended up changing it. I can't remember why, but I did. So that's what I used off there. The numbers and the tag toppers are cut out of this paper here, and it's from the outer edge, like where the text and stuff is. That's where I cut that out of. So you'll notice on the 25th that that front color, that is from this paper here. And then also the tops of the tags, I use the same thing. Okay. So that is where I got the paper to do those. The background of the numbers is done in black cardstock. You'll just have to pull that from your stash or pick up a sheet when you're doing your shopping. I decided black was the best color to have it pop off. You do have extra papers that you're not going to be using. They're right here. So if you want to dig into this, let's see if there is a darker color. I'm just showing you kind of what's here. You could do them in this dark green if you wanted to do the backers in those. And there is this darker teal color that you could use as well. I really like the black. I think the black really pops off. So I went with black, and I just grabbed that from my stash. So you can just use whatever you want to back your numbers with. And then, so you're not getting a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. So to create a border around the back, I didn't have anything to use. So I thought to myself, well, how am I going to do that? So part of designing the layouts for me is the challenge. This is the material you have. This is what you have to work with. What can you make it? What can you do with it? So I thought to myself, well, I do like these papers here. They're dark. And I think, again, with the colors that I chose to use for the tags, this is going to pop that white sheet off, but still blend in with all of this. So I thought, well, I'm going to cut some borders strips, and I'm going to actually create my own backer. So all of these are different pieces. So you can see that they're just strips that I have made my own background to create a border. So hopefully this will help you think sometimes if you are in that same situation where you go, well, I don't have a 12 by 12 sheet of paper that I can use to border my 12 by 12 sheet of white. What can I do? You're simply going to take these two sheets. So they are the ones that have the poinsettia clusters on them. And you're going to cut them into 1.5 inch strips. Okay, so I'm actually going to do that right now while we're talking about it, because I'm going to show you how I did the border. And that way you'll have a good understanding of how to do it when you are ready. So we're going to remove the barcode. And Amanda, if you're watching, you're welcome, because I'm going to get this all ready for you. So this is Amanda's bundle that I actually have here. And I use it to demo because I've already cut mine all up and we need all the rest of them for sale. So you're going to take this and you're simply going to cut 1.5 inch strips by 8. Okay, so you want to go the full length and just cut them all up so that you have them all ready. And then I will show you how I created that border. Because I've been in this situation before. I like to use the 6x8 pads and the 6x6 pads to create with, but sometimes that doesn't give you a large sheet of paper. And I think it adds a lot of interest when you create that backer for your main page. So I had to get creative. And there are unused sheets in your bundle. So if you want to switch up the colors, you can totally do that. I liked how these colors blended in with everything else that I was using. So this was the ones that I chose. But there are your strips that you're going to hang on to create the border pieces in a few minutes. Okay, so that's all you're going to do with those sheets is just cut them up into 1.5 inch strips for the border. And then these are the 3 papers here that I use to create my tags with. Okay, so what you're going to do is, for me, with the die that I'm using, I'm going to use a 3 3/4 inch strip by 8. So I'm just going to cut 3 3/4 inches by 8. And that's going to give me enough to put my die along the top and get the edge. If you're using a different die, you're going to want to decide which one you're going to use and figure out what measurement you're going to make your tags. And to do that, you want to measure the actual cutting blade of your die. So a lot of dies are nesting like this. Let me just grab a ruler here. So I want to say I used the 3rd one in, if I'm guessing. And you're going to measure the blade. So you can see on there, you can see that blade. Oops, no, you can't. You can see that blade edge. That's what you're actually measuring. So you want to go like drop down below the actual curve. And this is the part you want to measure from there to there. That is 3 3/4 inches for me. So that is what I'm going to cut my strips at. And what I used was the plaid paper, this green plaid. So that's the front tag. Then I used the green stripe, which is the one in the back. And then I used this red one. Okay, so this is the other side of the red. This is the other side of the green. And this is the other side of the plaid. Okay, so that's the 3 pieces I'm going to use. And I'm going to cut those down right now to 3 3/4 inches, just so that they're ready to go. And I can kind of show you how I line them up and create that tag. So again, I'm just going to remove that barcode, or that, I guess there's no barcode on it. It's just the label strip. We don't need that. And there's nothing fun on there to use. So you can just cut it right off. Oops, there's too much white showing there. Okay, so there is that. And then we're going to cut 3 3/4 inches the long way. Okay. So there's one. And there's 2. And there is 3. So like I said, if you don't want to do the die thing, You don't have to. You can just turn the top of this into a regular angled corner tag and be done. But I wanted something a little bit more formal looking or fancy looking than just the regular tag. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my die and I'm going to place my paper with the pattern side that I'm using on top of my die. And then I'm just going to line up the edges with the edge of the die, like the cutting edges. Okay, and then I'm placing the die just below the top edge of my paper. Okay, so it's going to kind of sit like that. You want to get that as straight as possible. You can always trim it up afterwards. Oh, I do this all the time. I need tape. I get it all lined up and then I realize I need tape. So it moves. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm just placing the die on here. And I'm just going to come down just a wee bit from the top of the tag, just so that I don't end up with like a flat spot. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this through my die cut machine, but I'm not running the whole thing through, because if I do, I'm going to cut down here too, which I don't want to do. I'm only going to run through the top part of this and then I'm going to stop, because the edges are already the width I want. I just need this part to cut out. So I'm only going to run it through to about there, and then I'm going to come back out again. Okay, I might be able to do that live on there. Let me grab my machine. We might be really zoomed in, but it'll give you an idea. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, well, we'll give it a whirl. Okay, so I'm going to place my die cut on there. So the cutting blade is face down. Oops, you can't see. Cutting blade is face down. My pattern that I want to use is faced up. Okay, I've got it taped in place. I'm going to put that top cutting plate on, and I'm going to run this through, but I'm going to stop just after I get the top through. Okay, so I'm not going all the way through, because if you do, it's going to cut out this bottom part, and that's not what we want. Okay, so now I should just be able to peel off this top piece perfectly. Now it did sort of grab a little bit of the edge there, but that's not a big deal. You won't notice that. So just try to get it in there as straight as possible, because if it's on an angle at all, it's going to ruin your sheet. And then you're going to have to pick a different pattern, because you don't have a second sheet of this particular design. Okay, so now you can see that we've got our angle on the top. It's perfect, right? Okay, so now I'm going to put that circle there, and that's going to be one of my tags. So then I'm just going to take this and I'm going to repeat the same thing on this red piece. Okay, and then I'm just going to put my tape back on there. Now I'm placing my tape on the outside of, I'll show you the top, because I don't want the tape to be touching the part that I'm keeping. I just have it up here. So that way, if for some reason your tape rips your paper, it's going to rip a piece you're throwing out. Okay, so we're just going to run that through. And then back out. And this is going to be tag number 2. So I'm just going to, now see how this happened here? I just got a little bit of, whoops, of a piece that cut there. That's not a big deal, because I can just clean that up with my scissors and you'll never know. And that part would actually get tucked underneath another paper, so you wouldn't even see it. If you're going to make any mistakes at all, this is a good one to make. So I'm not even going to worry about that. But there is the red piece with my angled top. And then we've got one more to go, and that's this green plaid. And again, just try to get that blade right on the edges, but it might not be exactly 3 3/4 inches, and I might have it off just a wee bit when I run it through. That's the human error part of crafting, because we're not machines. Okay, and again, I'm just going to run that through just to get that top part. And then it's perfect. Well, almost perfect. So there is the third one. So that's how I got that top. So if you've got a die in your stash that has an edge on it that will work, by all means. And, try it on a scrap piece of paper first. Don't use your actual paper. Just try it on a scrap piece. And then if it works, great. And if it doesn't, well, go to plan B. If you really love the ones that I'm using and think you can get use out of those, then you can pre-order the set that we're using. So that was the, if you're going to be using this set, that's the third one in from the outside edge. So now that I have used this, I'm going to be looking for other things I can do with it because I pulled it out of my stash. I have never used it before. So I'm like, I kind of like this die. So now I'll have to see what else I can come up with. Problem is never mind. There's so many things that I like that I have a hard time using them all. Okay. So I would just clean up these edges. You can just do it with your trimmer. I'll even do that right now. I mean, the amount I'm going to be taking off is so minute. And that's why I love a guillotine trimmer, because you can literally take a sliver off and like it's just the tiniest little piece. And you're never even going to know there was a problem. I could never do this with a blade trimmer. But with the guillotine trimmer, you can just like shave a little hair off and then you're good. So there we go. So those are all fixed up. So now we've got our 3 tags and all I need is my topper. Any questions on that? You guys are all super quiet. So that will be these 3 tags right here. And then as far as layering them, the one with the stripes is at the back. And then I have the other green one there. But then I slip this this red one just in between. So it kind of offsets the 2 greens. But I feel like, at first I wasn't sure that I liked that. But I really like how it turned out once you get all of the layering and everything on there. So it's quite effective. And they don't blend in too much. There's enough contrast there that it really works. Still no questions? Okay, we'll move on. So again, the circle for the top of the tags is going to be cut out of that paper that was left over. The extras. Nope. Is it in here? No, that's not it. That's the extras. Oh, what did I do with it? I don't know how I lose these things right in the middle of a live. But it was one of the sheets that I had set aside had the wreath on it. And that's what you were going to cut out the letters. I don't know what I did with it. And somebody help me. I need an assistant. Well, it's around here somewhere. We'll find it. So that's the tags. Okay, so that's good. Oh, I found it. It's right here. Okay, so that's what you're going to use to cut out your numbers and the tops of the tags. And I think that is a really fun paper to use because it already has some distressing and splatter. So you can position your dies wherever you want them on here. And it will pick up some of that pattern. Catherine, she's delighted this isn't challenging for her so far. Yay! The number die and backer will be a pre-order to be set up. Okay, so we must have sold the set that we already had in stock. Shelby is watching, so she will be able to activate the pre-order. But yes, we will have some up for pre-order. And like I said, we're going to put up the number that we have ordered right now, and we'll watch that. If you find that they disappear and you're looking for them, just email us, and then we will make sure that we add more and get more ordered. Again, we're kind of guessing. We've had this set in before. I know people have picked it up. So, we don't want to order 50 of them and then we have all these numbers that people aren't buying. So we ordered conservatively, but we'll definitely order more if we need to. So yes, be sure to ask any questions that you have while we're live, and then always email us if you have anything after that. Okay. Alrighty. I should just make sure that, she's not messaging me or something behind the scenes here. Nope, she's not. Okay. Everything looks good. Okay. I'm going to move on to our background now. Actually, you know what? I never showed you the laser cuts. We should talk about those because they are really cool. You get a whole package of them in your kit. Here they are. And I didn't know this when I ordered them. I discovered something about them that is really cool. So this is the package, and you get 2 sheets, and they open up. So they're 6 by 8, and then you flip them open. And then all of this stuff pops out. And here, like these little word strips pop out, but then there's also a frame there that pops out as well. And then you get these cute postage stamps and some banners, and then of course all the greenery. The little heart buttons are really sweet, and I actually threaded them with black and white twine and tied a bow. Pre-orders up. Thank you very much, Shelby. Thank you, thank you. And there's some tags on here, and I'm just going to point out the tag because where's the tag? It's on this side, I think. So look at the string that you get on the tag. That is paper. Like it's so delicate. I love these laser die cuts, and there's no white edge on them. So it's pure color all the way to the edge. And then this is the second sheet. So you get some of the large poinsettia leaves and some wood slices. You've got deer, you've got Santa, you've got trees, you've got all kinds of fun things. Now, you'll notice Santa is facing this way. If you flip this over, everything is double-sided. So you can decide if you want Santa facing one direction or the other. You can have your sled going this way or this way. So that is one thing that is different from this versus 49 and Market. These die cuts are all reversible. So I thought that was super cool. And then on this one, again, if you flip these over, there's no words on them. So if you want to add your own words, you can. Same thing with this. If you've got stamps or something that you want to use, you can use those. If you just want blank postage stamps and you want to put something else on them, you can. But anything like the car goes both directions. The Santas go both directions. So I thought that was really cool. Same thing even with the greenery. Like sometimes you want the leaves to shoot out the other way. Well, you can just flip it over. So it gives you lots and lots of really cool options. And I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was like, wait a second. I thought Santa was facing this way. And then I flipped it over and I'm like, wait a minute. He can face both ways. So I just did not. I did not know that until I started playing with them. So that's a cool bonus. So I will have to keep that in mind for future releases from them, because in my brain now I can say, hey, that Santa can go this way or that way. Cheryl says, I was so over Christmas, but this is now so exciting. I know. And, you know, that's the thing. The build up to Christmas is so grand. Like it, and for us, it starts in July. Like it's really early. Like the companies start releasing earlier and earlier every year. And it goes on for so long. We seem to be talking about Christmas. By the time Christmas actually gets here, I'm done. I don't want to think about Christmas anymore. Every year I say to myself, I'm going to do Christmas things in January when it's not so busy. But I'm so tired of looking at it. But hopefully this will bring you some inspiration to scrapbook some of the photos you took over the Christmas holidays, because it's just a little project. And then you can put it away till next year. But I really get what you're saying about being over it. But yeah. Anyways, so the laser cuts are very cool, and you don't use them all, or I didn't use them all. So you will have extras for those too. But yeah, you get all of this in the package. So there's lots of great fun things in there. So let's talk about what I used where. So I can use these to point out, actually. You know what? I'll use this to point out. That might be easier. So we'll start on the calendar side. And we do have a Santa. Now I have him facing in towards the middle. And he is the largest one, I think. Yes, the largest one. And so you will have to flip him over. And it's the one, they're all holding a light. Never mind. But it is the largest one. And then I've got a few green poinsettias. And I chose a darker one for the back and a lighter one for the front, just so you have some contrast. And then I tucked in, I'll hold this up a little bit. So this is the berries with the holly. So these are 3 different colors of green. You've got dark in the back, light in the front, and then this is sort of that teal color green. And that I just sort of plunked on top of there just to add a little bit more greenery and layering. I did a wood slice in the back, an pine cone in the front. And then I did Santa, and you can see that I've got a little heart-shaped button there, and I threaded that with the black and white twine. And then I did put 3 of the word strips along with that as well. And then I sprinkled some gold stars. I might add a few more gold stars because I'm thinking that it could probably use a little more. And then up in this corner up here, I used both of the tags. So those tags, one is here and one is here. And I layered them. Now I put the one with the plaid in the front and the one with the poinsettia in the back. I wasn't really interested in the poinsettia so much. I layered over one of the word strips, the 25 ho ho ho. Now these actually are perforated here. So if you don't want the 25 on it, or you want to tear those and like use them as 2 separate pieces, you can do that. And then there's a wood slice in the back, another teal leaves with berries. And then you've got this green sprig, which is, I think, one like this. It's got the wider leaves. And then I did put a pine cone in there as well. So that's that cluster. And then over here, in the top here, again, I've layered up the poinsettia pieces. So this time it's light in the back, dark in the front. And this one also has an actual red poinsettia on it. And again, by looking at this, you might not be able to determine exactly which ones I used. That's okay. I want you to lay out all your die cut pieces and make your clusters before you start creating your page. And that way you can kind of play around with all the pieces and layer them the way that you want. Because you might put extra pieces in there, but just kind of create your clusters. That's what I do before I start making my layout. I think, okay, I want a cluster here, a cluster here, a cluster here. I start grabbing all the pieces and I make fake clusters and then go from there. And some things you're going to want to pop up. Some things you might want to crinkle. Some things you might want to ink. Just kind of play around with that and get the dimension that you want. If you add pop dots to every layer, it's going to get really bulky. Think about that for your album and things. So you don't want to use too many, but it's not bad to pop up 1 or 2 things on your layer. Is someone asking about that? Are they just layered on top, or did you use pop dots? I do use, some things have pop dots. Like this has a pop dot. My whole cluster might be popped, but all the pieces on top are flat. And then this is flat to the back. So just kind of use your eye when you're doing it. And go from there. Okay, Catherine, I'm going to tell you, I'm not telling you which pieces I distressed, because you know what? You have the creativity, and I'm confident, 100% confident that you can decide that on your own. Some of the darker pieces, the ink isn't even going to show up. So I don't even bother. But some of the lighter pieces, if you feel like it needs a little bit of brown ink on it, then throw some on there. You don't need to know exactly what I used everywhere. I'm actually noticing I didn't use a lot of brown ink on many of the things. I did on the envelope and the postage pieces. Some of the word strips I did. The frames I did. But not a lot of the cluster pieces because they are quite dark. I know. You see, you want me to give away all the secrets. But honestly, I really want you guys to make some of those decisions yourself. You'll know if it needs to ink. If you think it needs ink, it needs ink. If you don't, it doesn't. Like it's your page, it's your book. You can decide those things. And same thing with the pop dots. You decide how poppy you want it to be. Yes. Okay. So Shelby's letting us know our supplier is out of stock on the gold Winsor and Newton. Yeah, I kind of figured. It is very tricky to get. It's not something that is easy. So if you want to email us about it, we can let you know when it's back in stock. They do look real. The die cuts are actually spectacular. So, yeah, lots of poinsettias and berries, and just tuck little things in. Don't be afraid to rip some of the pieces. If you only need a little leaf, rip it off, shove it in. You'll love it. And then over here, I used one of the frames. It's the white frame. I think it might have red on the edge. Just looking to see here. Yes, I only used one of the frames with the red, and there's 2. So this is one with the red, and the red is kind of tucked in behind so you don't see it. But I did ink it because I wanted it to stand out from the background. And that's how you can kind of decide if you want to use ink too, is do I want it to pop off from the background or do I want it to blend in? And there you can see that gorgeous 25. Isn't that amazing? I love it. And you can see the pattern on that paper. So you can see that little splatter. You can see the text on the TH. I'm just holding it up nice and close so you can kind of see. And look how beautiful those numbers pop off. Did I say letters before? Sorry. Numbers. I love them. And then again, some greenery. I've got 2 layers of greenery here. One has big leaves, one is thinner. And then I've got the postage stamp just tucked in here. And these 2 pieces here, one is a word strip and one is a banner. And you can see that I don't even really have them glued down. I stapled them together and I put a little bit of adhesive there. But yeah, they have lots of, like even the leaves, they can move. I want them to look like natural and not like glued right down to the page. And then you can see another little button there with the twine. And then down here, we just have one of their little tabs and then a word strip over top. And then down here, this was my favorite cluster. I love this one. I love the envelope with the little postage stamps in it. I'll hold that up nice and close so you can see. Actually, I forgot something. I wanted to, when I was creating this, I wanted to find a little heart die and I want to put a little heart there. So I'm going to have to find that and add that. And then there's trees. And again, the deer is peeking out from the background. So it kind of gives this some depth. So like way in the background, the deer is peeking out. And again, when I was creating this, I was thinking, oh, I wish that deer faced the other direction. And then when I figured out the Santa, I'm like, does the deer do that? And I just flipped it. And there we go. There's a little pine cone here, the sled. And then I put this little potted plant with the heart on it. And then some twine through the middle. And yeah, so that's how I did the clusters on that page. And then the frames, they pop right out of your die cut piece. So you've got one here. You've got a red one here. And then you've got another teal one on the other side. And that is what I use to put around my photos. So you'll just want to measure those frames. And that's approximately how you want to cut your pictures down. Now, poor Kevin. He got his face cut off here a little bit. He's behind the frame. He's peeking out. He won't mind being behind the frame. And then little Liam was not showing so well in the photo. So I picked a photo of him holding the joy sign. And there he is. So that's the 3 photos I chose, but you can go crazy. You can even add more photos without frames and you can mix and match. You can mix and match those with the frames. So you can definitely add more photos. There's lots of room. You can, have your photos come down in here. You can tuck another one up here. So there is room for more pictures for sure. Would you please show the script stamp again up close? You mean on the background? Well, we're actually going to be creating with it, Catherine. So I will be showing you that up close when I do the background. So that's kind of the placement of all the clusters. And then, like I said before, I actually stapled down some of the edges. First thing I'm going to show you, first thing we're going to do is the background. Okay, I'm going to show you how I did the stenciling and the stamping, and then I'm going to show you how I created the border. So we've got our white sheet of paper, and what I did for this was I kind of had all of my tags in place on my background. Okay, so I kind of took my tags that I cut out, which I've probably now lost. My gosh. So bad at this. Oh, seriously. Oh, here they are. Okay, so take my tags and I'm going to kind of put them in place. It's not the exact placement, but pretty close. Okay, so it's going to sit something like that. Now remember, you're taking a half an inch off. No, it's actually going to be an inch. I gave you the wrong measurement. The white paper is 11 by 11. I'm going to measure that just to be sure because you have a 1/2 inch border all the way around. Oh, 11 1/4. 11 1/4 by 11 1/4. Okay. So you're going to be taking off 3/4 of an inch somewhere. So just remember that you're losing 3/4 of an inch top to bottom and side to side. So the tags are going to be kind of something like that. What I generally do then is I take a pencil. Okay. And I kind of put really lightly some X's in the areas that I want to make sure that I add some stenciling. Okay, because it kind of gives me like a guideline. I don't have to put anything down here really because I'll put an X just to kind of outline the edge of where everything is kind of going to sit. So then I can take my tags off, and anything outside of those X's is going to show. Okay. So that's where I'm going to focus my stenciling and my stamping and so on. So what I'm going to do is, keeping in mind that I'm going to be losing 3/4 of an inch. If you want, if it makes you feel better, you can remove it now that you've got your X's on here. I probably don't want to take too much more off this side. So I'm going to take my 3/4 of an inch off this side. And I'm going to take it off a little off the top and a little off the bottom. Because I want to make sure when I do my stamping and my inking that I don't go too close to the outside edge, because I want to have some white space on there too. Okay, so I'm not taking anything off this side. I feel like that's close enough. So I'm going to come from this side. I'm going to take 3/4 of an inch off. And you might not think that's much, but it's actually quite a bit. Okay, so 3/4 of an inch off there. So now that's more narrow. And I'm going to do like 1/2 inch off the bottom. And then 1/4 of an inch off the top. That way my paper is the size that it's going to be when I'm done. Okay. And I got to figure out which way that goes. Okay, that's perfect. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some ink blending along the outside edges. So I'm going to pull in my oat milk. I did not want to use my brown distress ink. It's too dark. If you can go really light-handed, you might get away with it. But I like how subtle this oat milk is. It still gives you some distress, but it's not overly, it's not as powerful as the brown is. So again, I love working on a glass surface. I think you get your best results when you're trying to blend the edges of a paper. I don't want to do this kind of blend. I want to do this kind of blend. So I'm using a foam applicator. So same as I use with the distress. I just found this one and it was in my drawer. It was a sample I had, and it's the same kind of pad. So what you're going to do is load up your brush. Now this is a very light color, so just keep that in mind. And you're going to blend on the glass first and then onto your paper. Okay, so that way it's not as harsh. Okay, and this will dry back a little bit, but you're just going to kind of blend those edges. This is why I think the brown is too harsh, but this gives you a nice sort of distressed edge. And I always come in a little further on the corners. Yeah, this pad is so old, it's actually falling apart, and I've barely used it. I think it's just crusty, but it's working. So you're just going to distress those edges. So that's step one. And blending on the glass is so nice because you can start blending on the glass and then move onto the paper. So that's kind of like dabbing off your brush, so it's not as harsh when it hits your paper. And I find that that works really well. So one more side to go. And I'm sort of turning my paper as I go here, but it should be really obvious to you once you're done, which is the top, which is the side, by your X's. Okay. Now I have all this stuff all over my desk. Okay, I'm just going to quickly clean off the ink residue so we don't get it all over everything. And I'm just using alcohol spray and my cloth, and that will just take the ink right off, and it dries really fast, so I don't have to wait. Okay, so again, let me look at this. That looks right. Okay, so now we're going to add our stamping with our script stamp, which is over here somewhere. Here we go. Okay. So when you use this stamp, it's a big 6x6 stamp. First of all, you want to make sure your text is going the right way. Okay. Because it will be obvious if it's running the wrong direction. So you want to make sure it's going the right way. And then what you're going to do is you're going to stamp around the areas where you have the X's. You're going to be stenciling over top of it, but you do want to make sure that you stamp in all of the areas so that you get that nice text pattern. So I'm going to kind of go from the middle of the stamp because I don't want to have edges. Okay, so I'm going to kind of like dab up the middle there, and I'm going to just lay it right on, and I'm going to push down with my hand, and you're going to get that beautiful text print. See how you get that? Now I have a nice straight edge there, which I don't love. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to just add a little bit more, and it's going to kind of overlap a little bit. It's not a perfect look. Now see how I did that one? See how it's not perfect. It just kind of, whoops, let's focus. There we go. See how it's kind of off the page and it kind of comes down into a point? That's exactly what you want. So just kind of like dab all different places and get that text print, but just kind of follow the patterns of your X. And I mean, in my opinion, you can't have too much text. It's so nice and it just looks so good. And you're going to end up ink blending over top of it with your stencil. So just kind of keep adding, and it kind of looks like old written paper. And it might look like a hot mess before you're done, but trust me, trust the process, trust the whole thing. So you can kind of decide how much text you want, but I think that looks really good. Okay, I'm going to stop there. So I'll just hold this up so you can see. So see how that text looks so cool? It's just going to follow kind of around your page. And you can still see my X's on there, but we're going to get rid of those afterwards. So see how that looks? Amazing, right? But yeah, it's very forgiving. You're just going to kind of stamp anywhere and just push down on all sections of the stamp. It's great that it's really pliable, like it kind of moves around like this. Just, plunk it on there and then push it down. And if you find you don't get exactly what you're looking for, get some more ink and overlap it. It's okay if it overlaps, but it looks really, really great. So then we're going to remove that ink pad and we're going to bring in the jalapeno in our stencil. So you are going to stencil over some of this, and you can decide how dark you want your stenciling to be. Okay. So again, keeping in mind, we've done our X's. You're going to want the pattern to kind of show, but you don't want it to go all the way out to the edge. You want it to fade out. Okay. So there's still some white space up here where your text is going to show through. And same thing here, like there's stenciling here, then there's some white space, and then there's some more. But this stencil is really easy to use for that. And again, it's kind of like using the stamp where you just sort of pick it up and plunk it down. So I'm going to grab a blending brush. So I'm going to be using this. You can go in with the 1-inch brushes if you want for a soft blend. But the thing is, those 1-inch brushes take up a lot more space. So if you only want a little bit of ink blending, something with a smaller head is good, but not too small, because the detailed blending brushes will apply a lot of ink. It's hard to do a very light blend with those. So I would say, something like this, or, this style of head is what you're kind of going for. Nothing too small and nothing too big. And then you're simply going to decide where you want to put your inking. So I'm going to set, I want some up here. Okay, so I'm putting the stencil a little higher than I want it because I want it to fade out. And again, I'm really taking ink off my brush before I jump onto my paper, and I'm just lightly blending. Okay, so see how we've got a little bit of green on there, but see how it kind of fades out? I'll hold this up a little closer in just a few. I'm going to pull it over here a bit. And again, I want it not to go all the way to the edge. Whoops, that got a little dark, but that's okay. Okay, and then I'm going to pull it in a little bit more over here. And you don't have to ink your blending brush each time either. Just using up the ink that's on there is a good thing. Kind of go over here a bit. Like that. And I mean, you can put your whole page together and then go back in with this stencil and add a little bit more if there are areas that you want to have a little more blending, that you don't have it perfectly lined up the way you wanted it. That's totally doable. This stencil is very, very forgiving. Okay, and I want a little bit down the edge here, but I don't want a line. Perfect. This is mostly going to be covered up, but I'll just add a little bit of blending there just so in case anything peeks through. But I'm really just using a lot of the ink that's just left over on my brush, and then pick a little up off your mat. And I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so there we go. And then all you're going to do is take the, like a good white eraser, and you're just going to remove those X's. So just lightly erase, and it'll be like they're not even there. And if they are still there, you can put a sequin there and no one will know. Sometimes you can't even find them. Okay, for some reason that one's showing up a little bit, but I think it's going to be covered by all my stuff. But I'll just kind of hold this up and kind of go around so you can kind of see that you've got the script, the ink blending on the edge, and your stenciling over top. And then to finish it off, you're going to do some splattering if you want. So doesn't that look great? I love it. It turned out so good. And like I said, the script is just subtle enough that it's there, but it's not there. Did you stamp and stencil at all on the calendar page? I did. Yep. So the areas where I have the clusters in behind there, you can see that I've done some stenciling and some stamping in behind there too. I always kind of carry it over. Again, I probably could have come out a little further on this one, so a little bit more would show because I've got some white space here, but I wasn't 100% sure how many photos I was going to have, so I didn't come out too far. But in hindsight, and I could probably add that still and it would be fine. But then I'll just hold this up again, just in the area where I splattered, just so you can kind of see what is going on there. There is gold in there. I don't know if the camera will actually pick it up. But there is some gold in there. And the gold goes really nice with that sort of tan oat milk in the script and on the ink blending that you did. And then, of course, the gold stars. So that's kind of how you create that. Now, the final step will be to actually create the border. And that's what I'm going to show you now. If I can get this ink thing off here. This is my magnetic one, and it's super, super magnetic. Sometimes I have to really struggle. Excuse me. I'm just going to clean off my ink so I don't end up with ink where I don't want it. Okay. So ladies, now that we're not an in-person shopping place anymore, everything has to ship. So these glass boards that I'm working on, you have to pay actual shipping on. But just so you know, in most areas, that is not very much. So we're looking at like $10, maybe $15, depending on where you live. And they are already pre-packaged, so we can't add anything more to it. But yeah, it's really great. So if you don't have a glass board and you're kind of eyeing them up, just know that it is not super, super expensive to ship them, depending on, like, if you live in a populated area that isn't remote or in Northern Ontario or super, super like on an island somewhere, it's usually not too bad. So just keep that in mind. We can always quote you on anything as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the calendar page that we are going to use for page 2 because it is the full 12 inches. So if I was to put this like this, you can see that this is the full 12 inches, right? And we're going to use that as a guide to create our border. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those border strips that I created. Please tell me I haven't lost those. Here they are. Right here. Okay, and I'm going to start to create my border. Now on my layout, what I tried to do, there are pieces that have like poinsettias and stuff on them. I tried to put those kind of in the corners of the pages, and then the center parts are kind of less busy, and you will see spots where they overlap. Can you see that piece there? But it's so subtle that you really can't tell. So don't be worried about that. But what I'm going to do is just kind of outline this here. I'm going to put this down here. Just going to kind of lay out the busier pieces. And so what did I do there? Okay, perfect. So I got this one over here. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to, with repositionable adhesive, I'm going to stick this down on the back side of this calendar piece. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little bit of repositionable adhesive to the back of this, and that will hold it in place. You can line up the edges, sort of tack that down. And this one here, I'm going to put in this corner, but it's going to overlap this, and I don't need that full piece. So I'm just going to measure what I need. So I need about, let's say, 4.5 inches. So I can cut this one down. I want to keep this part, and I want to go over 4.5 inches. So let's go this way. So about 4.5. So this is an extra piece. And then that's going to go down in this corner here. And you can tuck it under or over, whichever way works best. You can kind of look at it and decide. I don't think it's really going to make a whole lot of difference. So again, just repositionable adhesive. I'm just going to put that right on top of the paper, lining it up. The outside edges are what's most important. Okay, so that's going to go like that. And I'll get this top one in place. Just up at the top here. And again, making sure those edges are really straight, because that's going to be the border of your page. So if you get them all wonky, they're not going to look so good. So you got to be kind of precise. Okay, so that's that one. And then I just need a small piece for down here, so I can tuck this underneath here and overlap that there. So that's perfect. And it might look a little bit funny when you're doing it on here, but once you get that top layer on, it is not going to matter. Trust me. Because I bet you didn't know that my piece was overlapped pieces until I told you. Okay, so there we go. So that's like that. So you can see that pattern here, and then it kind of just stops. But when I lay this over top, you're not going to notice that very much. It's going to just kind of blend in. All right, and then we got to put this piece in place. My repositionable adhesive tape runner is a mess. It is not happy. It's kind of coming apart. So I'm trying to make the best of it here. So again, just make sure you really get that lined up with that outside edge and it's nice and straight. Okay. And then we need a piece kind of going up here. So it just has to tuck underneath a little bit. So you're going to have lots of strips to work with. There we go. I think it got caught, my tape runner got caught on something in my drawer, and it kind of pulled the tape out. So it's not happy. And then we've got this piece here that we're still going to, so I'm going to add this patterned piece up here. So I'm just going to cut this in half. So about 4 inches or so. And that should finish it off. So I'm still going to have pattern kind of up here. I might have made that a little bit too long. Hopefully I can tuck it in. Yep. That's why the repositionable adhesive is really easy to work with. Just kind of lift it up. It does become permanent at some point, but it takes a while. But this kind of carries that pattern up into the corner. And again, just make sure your edges are really straight, because otherwise you're going to notice it. Well, that's not straight. Come on. My outer edges is what's most important. Perfect. So you can see on the inside, it's not very straight. Oh, it's not straight here either. Come on. Actually, I'm going to pull this up a little higher because I don't want it to slip out. There we go. But you can see on the inside, it's not lined up. That's okay. As long as my outside edges are lined up, you're good. And then we have one little spot down here to fill in. Doesn't need to be this long, but I'm going to just tuck it in because we're going to stick the top sheet on anyway. Is anybody asking questions? No? Okay. So I'm just going to tuck this underneath and line it up. So it's a little bit finicky, but the result is really awesome. And it really allows you to stretch that paper and create something that you couldn't have otherwise. Okay, so now with more permanent adhesive, we are going to place this on top. Now I want to keep my adhesive inside a little bit because I want to be able to lift this up and tear it in a couple of spots. So I'm keeping the adhesive to the inside portion of this square that we've created. And I'm going to use more permanent adhesive. Okay, so I'm pulling out my permanent, oh, that's not a tape runner. Those are squares. And I bet you my tape runners are empty. I have a refill here. Okay. I did not check this before I went live. All right, here we go. So I'm just going to put this in here. All right, so I'm going to keep my adhesive to the inside, going over those seams. Okay, and that way when I stick my top panel on, the outer edges won't be totally tacked down, which is exactly what I want. Make sure you don't get any adhesive on this part because you want to be able to lift it off. But this is just like a puzzle piece to hold, like as a guide to get your pieces organized here, and then you can remove it from that background. Okay, so I'm gonna stand up here. We're gonna center this all the way around, like so. Push that on real good. And then we're gonna flip this over and we're just gonna pull this off. The repositionable adhesive will let go really easily, and you will have residue on both this piece and this piece, but it just rubs off with your fingers. So if you just rub it and then you can brush it off, and then there won't be any adhesive there at all. So that way it's not going to stick to everything. And you have it all stuck down from the front. Because I have to transport this to Amanda and I don't want it to stick on everything. And even when you put it in your album, you don't want it to stick on everything. You could leave that background piece on there if it's just a scrap piece of paper, but that's a waste. You don't need that. And it works out perfectly good doing it like this. You just used it as a guide and then you're good to go. So now your paper is all ready to go and you're ready to start assembling. I'm just going to grab my tags again so you can see. First we have our stripe and then we have the other two, and you can just kind of move them around and position them till you get them to the right spot. And you're ready to start putting your page together. Ta-da! So that's how that works. And again, looking at the page now, you don't notice the places where the seams are and where the pattern stops and starts. It just kind of all blends together. But you've got all your stenciling done, your ink blending, your stamping. You just have to add your splatter and you're good. So what do you think? Any questions? Anything you want me to clarify before I sign off? Because I'll just wait a minute here. When do you rip the paper? What do you mean rip it? Why are we ripping it? I don't have any ripped paper on my design that I created, but you can rip paper anytime you like. Joanne, if you just want to clarify what your question is, I'm happy to answer it. Clever with the piece. I know. I thought that was kind of ingenious. I was rather proud of myself when I came up with that idea. I thought, that's really cool. I mean, because I've been stuck before where I didn't have the right kind of paper. On the borders of the white cardstock, I think she means. The borders of the white cardstock. I'm still lost. Sorry if I'm, here. These pieces? So sorry. So now you could go ahead and do that. So again, like I said, the edges are still liftable. So you can just take it and tear it. And you're only going to tear it from one side and then you just fold it over. I'm not going to do that because this is Amanda's paper and I want her to be able to decide where she wants it. I'm so sorry. I misunderstood what you were saying. Yes. So yeah, you're just going to take this and put a rip in it and then just fold it back. So you can see the rip is just right here. And then I just fold that back and I staple it down. So it's really easy to do. And you can decide where you want that. So depending on the positioning, like if you're going to add any more photos or anything, just wherever you think your eye wants to see a tear. I could even put another tear over here. I like odd numbers. I did 2 because I thought that looked good, but wherever you think you want to do that. And that's why I made sure that I left the edges liftable. Okay, so that you can do that. And then if you want to stick them down further, you can. But really, this is going to go into a sleeve for an album. It should not be an issue. Okay, what was the size of the circles for the tags? Mine was 3/4 of an inch. But again, that's going to depend on what your topper looks like. And I don't think if you had an inch, that would be fine too. I don't think... as long as it doesn't overpower the top of your tag, I think you're safe. You mentioned the struggles with the colored photo with all your details on the video, and we can stop and start it. We probably can design without the photo included. Just a thought. Yes. Oh, you mean moving forward? The reason we include a photo is so that if you are at a crop or something and you aren't watching a video, at least you have some sort of guide. That's the reason that we put it in there. I think we'll continue. I mean, it is kind of a pain, I won't lie, because sometimes I don't get my page done until a few days before release. And then try to get photos in time for that is tricky, but we'll see how that is. It is supported by the video 100%. And I appreciate your feedback on that, Cheryl. It's very well documented. I'm going to tuck that away in my brain. When we did our planner series, originally we started with photos and then we stopped with them just because it was getting kind of expensive to do that many photos. But I think most people, not most, some people find the photo to be helpful, but the quality of the picture this time, especially, I really noticed it is not that great. So as long as we can work something out, or we just have to go with a less great quality photo, but at least you have something. Because me printing them on my own, I know I could do a better job, but that's really going to increase the cost, and I don't want to do that. So, yep, 100%. I think the photo is a helpful thing, a helpful tool. Okay. Anything else that you want covered as far as directions on layouts, etc.? You can always email if you have questions. As long as, yeah, see, but blacks, I need extra time. Like I need that time in order to get them here. Like sometimes it takes like a week to 10 days. And that is just way too long. I don't work that far ahead. I can try, but I can tell you right now, I'm going to fail. And I'd hate to hold up the release because we're waiting for photos to arrive. That's a slow process. So yeah, I don't know what to do, but we'll see what we can figure out. Maybe I need to go and talk to Walmart and say, listen, what's your problem? I mean, they're not super great quality either, but they were way better than Staples. Don't ever go there. They're terrible. Okay, I think everybody's questions are answered. And we're at an hour and a half, which is a little over what I like to be, but good enough. Okay, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the page. Stay tuned for the title page. That is coming. I just need a little more time to get it done. So maybe with the January release, we'll have that ready to show at that time. But anyways, for now, I'm going to tune out. We'll see you later.